So, being a trans person in London, what's that like?
I can only really speak from my own experience, and London's a lot more kind of anonymous when you compare it to Brighton.
Oh yeah, no one cares about you.
I don't know, there's something about London, I think it's probably just the sheer size of it, but it's always been such a cool city anyway, and it's so diverse and so cosmopolitan, and people are drawn to London because you can be whoever you want to be.
It must have been amazing to walk around such a gay metropolis, being in the closet. How did that feel? Like, I don't know what age you came out, but were you walking around before you were...
I suppose that happened around about the age of 18. And that was the time that I left home, and I moved into this incredible building that we're going to now, which was almost like it was like the epicenter of the gay scene, really. Okay. There was everything. We're just coming up to the building now. Virtually every flat was owned or habited by somebody from the gay scene. Wow. So QX magazine was run from the office above mine. The people that ran Trade, Lawrence Malice, who owned Trade, he lived upstairs. The people that owned DTPM lived there. There was an escort agency on the first floor.
Yeah. Did you frequent?
No, I didn't. Well, I did because I knew the people that ran it, but no, I didn't. I didn't partake.
On camera, you didn't. Off camera?
I certainly never paid for it.
I see. Well, then it doesn't count. Then it doesn't count. No. So when you look at that building now, what do you feel when you look at it?
Yeah, of course, so many memories for me. I mean, it was, as I say, I was only kind of 2 streets away from the family home, but it felt like a world away from my family life, because I moved in, there was, my next door neighbour was a guy called Troy Weir, and he was a very big DJ at the time, and he was probably one of the first gay people that I met once I'd come out, and suddenly I was on the guest list for all the nightclubs.
You were a cool dude.
I was suddenly right in the middle of the gay scene, a proper kind of club kid, and we were out every night. My best friend, a guy called Laurent, used to work at Substation, which isn't there anymore, and then went on to be manager of DTPM and Atelier and all these clubs. And so he and I would just spend every night going from club to bar to after party, much as Munroe probably does now.
And really. So your sort of clubbing experience in London,
yeah.
like you're a DJ, you're a very well-known DJ.
Yeah.
Has that sort of helped you sort of find your bearings around London? And
definitely. Well, I mean, I started DJing at a club called Madame Jojo, which had a very big drag and trans following, and I mean, it was legendary. So DJ'd at a night called Tranny Shack, which was before everyone kind of realised that the word tranny is not one to use. But in that time, it was very embracing of the trans scene and trans audience. And right across the road was another club called Shadow Lounge. And I pretty much had my first residency there.
So London, you know, the whole thing is we're saying love happens here.
Yeah.
Has love happened here for you two?
I mean... yeah.
Far too many times.
Yeah. How many?
How many, what are we counting?
Well, in the last week.
Because I might not be able to give you a figure in the last week. I mean, I've got many memories of love and lust in Soho. Whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship or just with friends, it's just a very loving place.
There's no fear. There's no fear, I think. You know, one of the main things I think is public displays of affection.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the first places that I ever saw men holding hands, and that was a lovely sight. It's
a big moment when you're a young LGBT person. You're like, whoa, that's okay to do.
Like comforting. I think.
Well, it's also great, isn't it? Because you realise that it's not. You know, we do live in a bit of a bubble here, and you realise when you leave central London how it's not quite as open anywhere else, and people don't hold hands, and people are frightened to be themselves, and you don't have that in Soho. The great thing about Soho is you can be who you want to be, and you can live your life the way you want to. I mean, I definitely found love here. I met my husband in Soho, so
wow.
So
Wow.
At the gym, like a gay cliche.
Wait. Did you do the whole kind of like slow curl and stare over?
I was wearing a leotard and a headband.
Those little short shorts.
Yeah, no, we were at the gym. We both thought the other one was straight for about a year, so nothing happened for a long time.
Wait, so that intense staring happened for a whole year in the gym.
Yeah. I was obsessed with him. I thought he was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. And I still do, really. He's incredibly handsome, my husband. But yeah, I used to go to the WAG Club on Wardour Street, and again, somewhere else I think that we're going to visit. And Fat Tony used to DJ there, that's when I first met Tony, when he was fat.
Was Tony fat?
Yeah, well, that's why it's called
no
Fat Tony.
idea.
It's called Fat Tony.
I never knew that because I asked someone and they were like, why is Fat Tony called
Who
Fat
is
Tony?
Fat Tony, you see?
don't-
Fat Tony's
I'm
a
new
legend.
here.
Fat Tony's a
I'm new.
legend.
Fat Tony's a legend.
Love
He
Tony.
is a
Hi,
DJ.
Tony.
Hey Tony. He's a DJ and he's an incredible man actually. I love Tony. But he was certainly one of the big gay characters that I first remember being aware of. There were people like him and Princess Julia. There was a club called Kinky Galinky that everyone used to go to, run by a woman called Galinda, which was amazing, and it was where you used to see the most incredible drag queens and artists, and kind of really my first experience of people really going all out at the club. And yeah, Tony was sort of part of that gay world that I desperately wanted to be a part of.
In media at that time, there weren't very many LGBT role models for you to look up to, were there?
Not really. I mean, I suppose there were role models, and my role models then were people that I still admire today. People like Ian McKellen and Michael Cashman, and people that were really doing things politically. But also, a lot of our pop stars at the time were quite unapologetic, like Jimmy Somerville, like Mark Armand, people that were really out and proud and were doing things politically, that were protesting. You know, those were the kind of people that were my role models at the time. And when I went into Coronation Street and got a bit of a profile, I was already a parent at the time. And I didn't know, I didn't see anyone that was talking about being a gay parent publicly.
It was possible to do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So when I went into Coronation Street, I thought, well, I'm going to be that person then. I'm going to talk about it. So I went to The Guardian and asked them if I could have a column. Because I thought, you can do that. You can just go to a national newspaper and ask them for a column and they'll give you one. And they did. They did give me one. So I wrote about my experiences for a year or so.
It was called The
Three of Us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just sort of I wanted people to know that your sexuality shouldn't get in the way of you being a parent, if that's what you want. But also, I sort of wanted to let people know that it's just as mundane and boring and relentless as for straight people. Your sexuality is the last thing you're thinking about when you're doing homework with your kids or potty training or any of that stuff. You're not a gay dad, you're a dad at that time.
One thing that I had a massive fear of when I was coming out was, is my gayness going to limit my professional opportunities? Is it going to stop me getting work in TV? Is it going to make me have an unhappy life? And thankfully that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And for you two are killing it in both your industries. Did you ever have that fear?
Definitely. I mean, for so long. I came out as gay first, and then I came out as trans, and then I started experimenting with my sexuality after I transitioned. So then I came out as queer because I just thought, you know what, I can't put myself in any more boxes. I'm just gonna say I'm queer and just have that be done.
I'm Munroe. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I'll just sleep with anyone. I'm Munroe. So, I was terrified for a long time and I didn't feel like I could be in a professional environment and transition. I felt like everyone was looking at me. I felt like, I couldn't go on the tube and everyone looking at me. It was a bit of a nightmare in those early stages, as it is for everybody. But yeah, you just need to find your people, I think. And I think your people are always there.
I grew up on Frith Street, so just back there, the sort of Soho Square end of Frith Street. My parents had a restaurant and we lived upstairs.
Oh wow!
And in fact, there was a brothel in the basement at the time. I seem to remember
of the restaurant.
Yeah,
you're just full of golden nuggets, aren't you?
that's what happens when you grow up in Soho.
Is it still there?
The brothel, no, the restaurant's still there. They, there you go. That one, they're redoing it. Well, we live there, and it's right opposite Hazlitt's Hotel. And I remember me and my dad one day being in the kitchen one morning before I went to school. I was making a cup of tea, and we looked across at the hotel, and we could see somebody having a wank. And I'm not going to say it on camera, but it was somebody quite famous.
No.
In my ear. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was quite funny. That was at the age of about 15.
Amazing.
My first experience of
Wow.
Of a gay actor.
That is so funny. Can you both remember your first kiss with someone of the same sex?
Yes, I can.
What was that
Same
like?
sex then or same sex now?
Well, then.
I had two experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was when I came out. Really, I mean, it was lovely. It was
Magical.
exactly as well. Kind of. It wasn't magical, but it was. I'd had girlfriends before, but it suddenly felt right. It felt like, this is who I am. This is how it's meant to feel. This is, and it was lovely. It was yeah, really nice. Yeah.
What about you, Munroe?
So the first time I kissed someone from the same sex it wasn't quite as romantic as Charlie's.
Something tells me it was more than just a kiss, wasn't it?
Oh my god, it was awful. It was the first time I had sex, and it was terrible.
God, you went from first kiss to sex
well,
in the same night.
We're gonna go there, babe.
Wow.
It wasn't great, but it was a learning curve.
Yeah.
And it made me more inquisitive, and I was like, oh god, this can't be right, It was terrible. And then, I think it's, you need to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince, and I kissed a lot of frogs. And the first time I kissed a girl, I kissed many girls, but then it wasn't until, I transitioned gender that it actually felt right. And yeah, I mean, I ended up dating her for a bit.
Okay.
And she's still a friend now, so.
Very nice.
We moved up to Soho when I was a kid, and moved onto Frith Street. But we were just talking about the Shadow Lounge earlier on, where you first worked. Before the Shadow Lounge was the Shadow Lounge, it was a porn cinema called the Astral. And
The Astral.
The Astral. It was a porn cinema, and my first ever job, my first Saturday job, was cleaning the Astral.
Oh God! Oh no!
Really?
You talk about the worst jobs that you can have.
my
Trust me.
God.
I
What did you
win
find?
on that. It was disgusting. Definitely the worst
like
job
community
I've ever had.
service.
But
Wow. So, what was your worst job then, Munroe?
I changed the rooms in hotels.
A chambermaid.
I was a little chambermaid, yes. But again, similarly, you'd be very shocked at what people leave in hotel rooms.
Such as?
So, oh God, I don't know.
We need details.
People left a lot of weed, which was great. That was great.